I witnessed something late at night on the 4th of July that I feel the need to share. Bear with me, because I'm not a great storyteller, but I wrote down all the events and even drew a map of where everything occurred immediately after, so I'd never forget. To give some context, I'm a weirdo and I spend a lot of my time hiking. I've been dealing with serious emotional and mental distress, brought on by things that are out of my control. My way of coping and finding comfort is being a weirdo and tempting fate by going for late night hikes. Turns out I made the right decision by going out to the countryside late that night to enjoy the view of the full moon and see the fireflies shine deep in the woods and across the fields. I parked my car at an unmarked pull-off next to the river, which is surrounded by dense forest and unforgiving swamps. I started on my way on foot at approximately 11:30 p.m. I may or may not have had a few White Claws stuffed into my backpack. That's beside the point. After walking for about 2.5, mostly uneventful hours, I decided it was time to double back and go find my car. This is the part where things go from I feel a bit better and more at ease to, oh shit, what in the ever-loving hell have I stumbled onto? I began crossing the bridge to get to my car, which was still roughly 3 miles to the west of where I was on the bridge at that time. When I heard footsteps on the asphalt approaching me from behind, my mood shifts to make my day. I am so ready to cut you if you even think about attacking me. I whipped around and saw a man wearing all black, who was much closer than what it sounded like. We made eye contact, full moon, pretty easy to see at night, and this dude broke into a full-ass sprint towards me, but then veered around me the last minute. Maybe it was the liquid courage or pure adrenaline, but I yelled out to the guy, "Hey man, you good? Sup?" And he replies, "I have to go get my wife." Swiftly veers around me and keeps running. I'm thinking to myself, okay, kinda weird considering it's, 2 o'clock and in the middle of nowhere, but I digress. He runs out of sight. I keep walking to my car. I make it about 1.5 miles further when I hear a woman screaming, crying and wailing, the kind that makes your hair stand up. The kind that tells you in your gut that something is seriously wrong. I stop and listen. Through her sobs, I hear her say, "Please, I can't take it. I don't want any more. Please don't." At this point, I wanted to throw up. Her screams were coming from the same path I had to take to get back to my car. I channeled the energy of the movie Tropic Thunder and went full Viet Cong. Drove into the bushes and stealthily made my way closer to see what the heck was going on and find the screaming woman. Didn't take long, because I now see the same man that ran past me earlier and a second, much larger man also dressed in black walking on the road coming back in my direction. The larger man had the woman slung over his shoulder like she was a sack of potatoes. She wasn't screaming anymore, but she was crying and completely incoherent. She looked like she was maybe 19 to 21 at most, had blonde hair and was very small. I'd say 110 pounds. I popped out of the tree line and asked man number 1, "Is that your wife? Is everything okay?" He says, "Yeah, she's fine. She just can't handle her liquor." As he said this, both men continued walking past me. The woman was clearly not drunk but appeared to be drugged. She was trying to talk, but her speech was very slurred, and she could not even lift her arms or head to get out of this man's grasp. To the best of her ability, this woman keeps trying to say, "Please, no, help." She was trying so hard to lift her head and look at me and reach her arms out to me, but she was so weakened by whatever they had done to her that she was incapable of even making out a single word. Something was seriously wrong. Something much more than alcohol. Not 15 minutes prior, I was able to hear her screaming actual words, and now she appears barely conscious. I carry pepper gels and razor blades when I hike. However, I just knew there was no way I could take on 2 men by trying my hand at some vigilante justice. I'm about 5'6" and 140 pounds, and definitely no match for 2 men twice my size. Self-preservation and survival mode kick in for me and for my fellow woman, and I say to man number 1, "Oh yeah, man, I've been there before. I'm sure she'll sleep it off and be fine." Please understand, I only said this to him as a means of playing dumb. Again, I'm not equipped to take down 2 men. The woman tries to cry and plead more as they carry her away, and I was quite honestly terrified. That sight and the connection I felt between myself and the woman pleading for help are something I'll never forget. Once they are about 20 feet behind me, I take a quick glance over my shoulder to see what is happening, because the slurred cries she was letting out were nauseating. I wanted to be sure they weren't harming her further. I see they've stopped in the road and are looking back at me. It took everything in me to be cool. Act as though I didn't notice them looking and couldn't care less what they were up to. Again, self-preservation. They began walking further away from me then. I quickened my pace to go hide behind a sloped railroad track out of their view. I called 911. I described to the dispatcher what I've just seen and that I believe that woman was being taken against her will and appeared to be drugged. The officer or dispatcher on the other line says, "Yeah, we've got 2 other calls earlier tonight. We'll go ahead and work on sending someone out." Great police work, my dudes. Keep in mind, this is one of those out in the boonies, and most people seem to think that sort of thing doesn't happen around here. Even though we have an extensive amount of cold cases of women and children here in this area. I'm only a mile from my car now. Obviously, the police gave approximately 2 shits about this woman's safety, but I was so disturbed by what I saw that I knew it was time to go find these guys myself, since it seemed nobody else was going to. Side note, the amount of cigarettes I smoke in a day is roughly equivalent to the amount of toilet paper sold during this pandemic. I was huffing a cigarette, crying silently, praying for her safety, praying they wouldn't disappear with her to God knows where to do God knows what. What I'm saying is, I ran like never before to get to my car and track these men down again before they could drop out of sight with her. I don't personally know this woman, but I'll be damned if I don't do everything I can to help her when she was clearly in danger and unable to help herself. I floored it to where I saw them last. Maybe 15 to 20 minutes had passed between the last time we crossed paths and I got in my car. And much to my relief, as I rounded the corner, I saw multiple police units on the scene up the road. I drove up closer just to be sure they found the right guys, and they did. They had the men up against their cruisers with their hands up and were being frisked. Paramedics were on the scene. This poor woman was lying on the ground as they were working to place her onto a stretcher to get her to a hospital, I assume. The sense of relief I felt was unreal though. Probably not even a fraction of the relief this woman felt when police finally intervened. Dispatch actually called me back and advised they'd not sent officers previously as the situation was described to them as a noise disturbance. Not unusual for a holiday weekend, so I cannot wholly blame them for not coming sooner since they'd not received any calls specifically stating there was a woman screaming for help or being carried off caveman style against her will in the middle of nowhere in the wee hours of the night. Needless to say, I didn't sleep at all the rest of the night. I went home and cried all day. Most out of the horror of what I saw and the awful thought of, what if I hadn't taken that walk? What if no one got help for her? What if they would have grabbed me too? I'll close with this. Do not be a bystander. If you see something, say something. In 1999 to 2000, the internet was still pretty new to me. I lived in a village, no kidding, a village in rural Illinois. I was 13 and so very naive to the world that I had been overexposed to already. It seems strange thinking about it now. How someone that had been to 14 different schools and probably twice as many houses by freshman year of high school could still be so very innocent. My mother was a drug addict. Meth was her drug of choice. If you've ever had the horror of witnessing someone you love descending into the depths of addiction, then you can understand some of the sadness that I had endured. I say only some because now, as a parent myself, it hurts even more to know that she chose those drugs over her children time and time again. She had been married 6 times by this point in my life. Before 1998, there were many nights that I cooked dinner for my sisters, helped the youngest with her homework, cuddle her when she cried for mommy, and save my own tears for when she would finally fall asleep. I will admit, I was awful at doing dishes. I remember hiding the dirty dishes in the stove and bathtub when my stepmother would pick us up for Dad's weekend. She caught us once, but nothing was ever done. And so I grew into a teenager in this crazy hectic life, never fully understanding why my mom wasn't there, and if she was, she wasn't quite here. I'm telling you all of this as a little bit of preparation for where my head was at. I was a young, innocent, and desperately wanting to be loved, and I feel that this story is still very, if not more important today. So maybe I'll serve as a warning to your children someday, and that is completely fine by me. My mother married husband number 7 in 1998. Tom was the rock my sisters and I never had. He was a tall, lanky man and felt like a giant that could shelter us all from any storm. My mom actually met him at a gas station trying to escape from husband 6 in his meth psychosis rampage. I may just write up a few of those experiences. Some still make my skin crawl today. Tom had a beautiful house in a very tiny town. There was a single stop sign in the entire place. Not one stoplight though. I remember for the first time being allowed to roam around until dark when I would head home to a warm dinner that I didn't make. I'd do my homework, only mine, and I'd kiss my mom and Tom goodnight. I'd go to my room, my own room. It was crazy. I felt normal. I felt happy. Tom drank a lot, only beer, but quite a bit every single night. He was the calmest, nicest man I've ever met. Even if he polished off a case of beer, he never ever raised his hand or his voice to any of us, including Mom. My mother, though, she could never quite handle stability, so she started fights and Tom would silently sit and take it. I started leaving at night around then. I'd go to my mom's best friend's house, Kat. Kat had 4 kids. I watched at least weekly. They called me sis, and I loved the entire family like my own. I felt safe there. Again, I felt happy. Kat had a computer right there in her dining room. A freaking computer. As a poor kid that had never had much in life, I was psyched. And they had dial-up internet. In the country then, it felt like this was a rarity. I'd never seen a computer outside of the 4 we had at school. FYI, my graduating class was 32 people total. And so my nightly habit began. I'd go home after school. Not many friends. Still the new girl in a school full of people that has known each other since kindergarten. Eat dinner with my silent family and then walk to Kat's house. I'd hang out for a bit, and when everybody went to lay down, I'd log online. That's where he found me. I'm not the most tech-savvy person even today, but I did figure out chat rooms pretty darn quick. That's where I met Josh. Josh was 15, Australian, a dirt biker, and an all-around interesting guy to a 13-year-old me living in BFE, Illinois. He was interested in me. He didn't ask my bra size. Back in the day, any other ladies remember that? He cared, and I mean genuinely cared, about how I was doing. We talked for 4 weeks. Then came the 4th of July weekend. He wanted to call me, all the way from Australia. But it was my dad's weekend, and he had many plans for us. I tell Josh this, and he comes up with a great plan. I feign illness so that we can openly talk while everyone else is gone. Oh, and I shouldn't be too shocked. He has quite a deep voice. Okay, I say, and we set a time. The 4th of July is here. I get to hear his voice for the first time ever. I'm so excited that I don't even need to fake the nausea, the paleness, or the shaky voice. Those are all very real. Dad falls right for it. 12:30 rolls around. My dad, his wife, and my sisters are getting ready to go. I'm willing them to move faster, to hurry, to just get out that damn door. I need to mentally prepare, and I just can't do that with them there. Finally, I hear them getting their shoes on. 12:45. Only 15 minutes left. Crap, Dad's coming. We're leaving. Hope you feel better. Love you. You too, Dad. Have fun. They're going. Phone rings. Oh shit. No, it's not 1 p.m. It's 12:54. Please just keep going. I quickly pick up the phone and hear a deep voice. Hello? Breathlessly. Yes? Hey babe, it's Josh. My heart stops beating. Click, click. Who is this? Dad, I thought you left. Dial tone. Josh was gone. Enter a very angry and irritated dad. Here comes my week, I don't know who that was explanation. There goes the rest of my family as I sit and wait for the phone to ring. I waited 3 hours. He never called back. I cried myself to sleep that night. Upon returning to my mom's, shit hits the fan. Kat calls my mom while I'm away at Dad's and tells her to immediately get to her house. As in 5 minutes ago. My mom rushes over expecting an injured child or something of that magnitude. Instead, she's greeted by a sheet white cat and 2 men in suits. They ask my mom to join them inside. Over the next hour, my mom has shown chat logs, emails, and any other bit of information shared between Josh and me. They decide then to take his party back to my house and wait for me to come home from my dad's. My dad gets a call, we grab our bags, and we seem to leave in a hurry. I worry that my grandpa, who's been ill, has taken a turn for the worse. My dad drops me off after the 2-hour car ride with an "I love you, I'll call you tonight." He doesn't even walk me to the door. Strange. I open the door and you guessed it. Mom, Tom, and the suits are at my kitchen table. I silently take my seat. Over the next few hours, Agent McIntosh, no joke, All I could think about was apples and Agent Number 2. I apologize, but he rarely spoke, and I can't recall his name. Explained to my mother and stepfather that Josh was actually a 43-year-old man named Bill. He really did live in Australia. He had my email along with 3 other blonde-haired, blue-eyed early teen girls from America and was using the same line on all of us. They asked me to continue contact, with my mother's explicit supervision, like over my shoulder every step of the way. I agreed. Then things got weird. Well, weirder. Suddenly, I'm getting emails from a different account that I've never seen before. It's Josh's uncle. Josh had been terribly hurt in an accident. He just wants a picture of me to put in Josh's room. He was so damn convincing. I actually started to think my mom set this whole thing up to teach me a lesson or something. So I did it. I deleted the emails from his uncle as soon as I received them, and I sent a picture from my best friend's email. Josh improved, little by little. He'd send me messages through his uncle to my best friend. And then, his uncle set up a phone call with me on my friend's phone. Months after the run-in with the MIB, I had convinced myself this was all real again. Until that call. That voice on the other end. Hello, this is Josh's uncle. But that voice, it's so deep. Much deeper than even a grown man's voice feels like it should be. I have great news. Josh is getting out, and with the insurance payout, he's going to take a trip to America. He wants to meet you. You are near X airport, right? Okay, great. Here's the date and time. The mall is just down the road. He'll meet you there right in the food court. Can't wait to see you. Dial tone. Wait, what? Did I hear that right? Can't wait to see you. Not, he can't wait to see you. Just, can't wait to see you. Maybe I just heard wrong. Whatever, I'm going to meet Josh. On a side note, I desperately wanted to leave this portion out. It makes me feel incredibly stupid, but I look back now and realize I wasn't completely dumb, just desperate for love and easily groomed. I'm sure by now you can guess where this is going. If you guessed MIB back at my kitchen table, you're dead on, my friend. But this time was even more frightening. You see, this time they informed me that Bill had been a busy man. He had bought plane tickets to the airport closest to our tiny village, the city my dad lives in. They want me to cut off contact and confiscate Kat's computer, which had been loaned to us for this time period, and they tell my mom in no uncertain terms that I need to steer clear. This man is dangerous. There is a reason he is on our radar. No, ma'am, there is nothing more I can tell you, other than please keep a very close eye on your daughter's internet and phone activities. So ends my contact with Josh. So should end my story, but one more small detail needs to be told. Not to be cliche, but a month later, I finally break down and tell my best friend what happened. The one that had facilitated the emails and phone calls. She gets irrationally angry. She yells that I'm lying. You're just jealous, she said. I stand on her porch, freezing my butt off, mouth hanging open and tears freezing on my lashes. She slams the door. She and I don't speak again for almost 7 years. She finds me on Facebook and apologizes for all those years ago. She knows the truth, but doesn't know what happened to the man with the deep voice. Neither do I. That's the worst part. I asked my mom if I had the full story before typing this up. She told me one more thing I didn't know. Bill hadn't only purchased a ticket to my nearest airport, he also purchased a return ticket, along with a second one-way only ticket to Australia, in my name. It was 1976, the year of the bicentennial, and my family had gone on a mini vacation to a nearby state park. When it happened, I was out picking blackberries. They grew wild there along the trails in Twin Pines State Park. I hadn't wandered far, just 50 yards or so along the trail in the trees. It wasn't long until lunchtime, and all us kids had been given a little mission by our parents to gather as many berries as we could. When we got back, we were going to dump them all in a big bucket where Dad would use a wooden spoon to mash them and mix in some sugar. It would make this delicious blackberry sauce that we would ladle over the little individual sponge cakes we'd brought. Fresh wild blackberry shortcake. It was the best. Just a few dozen feet off the trail, I spotted this tall, narrow boulder with blackberries growing up around it. Huge ones. Jackpot, I thought. I went up to the boulder, picking the double-sized blackberries off the bush as I went clockwise around it. When I returned to where I started, I slipped and felt a moment of vertigo. My vision swam as I windmilled my free arm, the one not holding my bucket, and managed to steady myself. I staggered forward a step and shook my head to clear it. I felt a moment's disorientation. Had I gotten lost somehow? But no, I could see the dark line of the trail cutting through the undergrowth ahead. I glanced back at the boulder and frowned. It still hung heavy with blackberries. I thought I had gotten them all. I glanced at my bucket, but it was full. I guess I had just missed some. I walked back onto the trail and then back down out of the trees to the campground. I froze as I emerged from the tree line. My family was gone. The picnic table laden with food. The RV park nearby. My mom and dad over by the big brick barbecue. All gone. I knew a moment of panic. Had they left without me? Had I been gone too long? I looked around for them wildly and saw nothing, except a concrete pillar I hadn't noticed before. I walked towards the 4-foot pillar and an ominous feeling rising in my chest. It bore a brass plaque with writing and a picture on it. The handle of the bucket slipped from my fingers as I read the text. Blackberry Ridge Campsite, sponsored by the O'Malley family. In memory of Daniel O'Malley, missing since July 4th, 1976. Dedicated July 4th, 1986. That was my name. That was my picture. And the date. 10 years in the future. Daniel? Said a voice from behind me. I jumped and spun around. Behind me, a man in a dark suit stood calmly. His hands clasped in front of him. I didn't recognize him, although he seemed familiar somehow. You know who I am? Sir, I began tentatively. I lost my family. Can you help me? He nodded somberly. I can. Relief flooded me. Do you know where they are? Where did they go? I asked, bending to pick up my bucket. Is this pillar thing some kind of joke? Yes, home, and no, he answered with a slight smile, ticking off each answer on his fingers. I deflated. They did live without me, but how? Why? What's going on, sir? They didn't leave you on purpose, Daniel. They looked for you. They loved you. They still do. The man assured me kindly, but you can't get back to them like this. You've fallen forward in time. 10 years have passed, just like it says in the memorial here. What? I said. It was ridiculous, but then, what about the memorial? And the blackberry bush that was full of fruit again after I just picked it clean? That's... No, not impossible, Daniel, he said earnestly. You know it, in your heart. You are still young enough to believe, to know there are strange and wondrous things in the world. One of those things sent you here, and it can send you back. How? I asked urgently. Run, he said, glancing up at the sky. The time when the door will be open is ending. Run back to the stone with the blackberries around it, and run around again. He paused for a moment, as if considering something, then added, Be sure to run clockwise. Go. I don't know why, but in that moment I believed him. He just seemed so honest, I guess. Who are you? I asked as I began to step cautiously back towards the trail. No time, he snapped, and I jumped to the severity of his tone. Go. I ran back up the trail to the stone. When I reached it, I did as the man told me. It was different this time. As I rounded the stone as instructed, the world turned white. I sat at the picnic table, my face in my hands, tears running down my cheeks. Slowly, I stood and trudged to the concrete memorial. I regarded it for a long moment, the innocent, trusting face of the child accusing me. I sighed and then made a gesture and spoke a few words in the secret language of the Fae. The glamour disappeared and the memorial became a featureless rock once more. Around the campsite, litter and scattered camping equipment appeared from thin air, as the art that had concealed them unraveled. Elsewhere, I knew the heavy ripe berries had now vanished from the blackberry canes around the standing stone, illusory as the memorial had been. I strained my tie and composed myself. I could have said counterclockwise. I could have told him to run around the damn stone widdershins. The power that ruled over that stone had a little in the way of pity, but it was orderly above all else. It would have sent him back just an hour in time, just after the moment he left. Well, before his parents and siblings had sped away from the campsite in the family RV to contact the park rangers and the police. To before I erected the illusory memorial and concealed the signs that his family had left in haste less than an hour passed. He would have had a happy childhood, I'm certain. His parents are good people, and his siblings are kind of like he is. He would not be torn away from them and lost in a place beyond human sight, there to stay for the next 10 years. He would not be going to miss so many things, and he would not have to have known the fear and torment that waited for him in that strange and alien place. But he also would not learn the things he needed to learn there in the other world, among the old and crafty folk who have been both friend and foe to humans over many ages of mankind. If I had sent him widdershins around the stone, he never would have had the chance to discover wonders long relegated to myth and legend, or see beauty no other mortal eyes have beheld in 1,000 years. If I had done that, he would never have become the man that he needed to be. He would never have become me.